So, step one, coming from gratitude. Macy sees expressing gratitude as grounding and as something that helps, stimulates empathy and helps us be aware of our interdependence with each other and then with the earth and plants and animals. And a prompt in this essay was kind of encouraging you to think about a place that is magical to you. So I'm going to talk about a place that is magical to me, and this is my gratitude. A place that is magical to me is Hampstead Heath. I love Hampstead Heath. I am lucky enough to have grown up next to Hampstead Heath. It's where I smoked my first joint. It's where I spent Valentine's Days with my best friends. It's where I've gone for swims in the morning. It's where I go for runs if I'm feeling really happy or shit and I just want to cry between trees. It's where I see so many birds. Like last week I saw a heron a metre away, and I see herons all the time, but it never gets old. I've seen woodpeckers, rats, which I think are cool, and voles. I love its smells. I love the way that the light changes. I love watching the seasons, and I am so thankful for it, and I love it. And then thinking about how thankful I am for it makes me thankful that I was able to grow up next to it, and thankful that my parents pushed for social housing in such an amazing area, because otherwise it would have been impossible. So being thankful for the Heath makes me aware that I'm thankful for many things. Step 2. Honouring our pain for the world. So we are often encouraged to ignore our feelings of anxiety with booze, phones, TV, anything that can help us forget. But Macy says that sharing pain can be a powerful way to acknowledge loss and then motivate action. So here is some of my pain. One of my worst fears about the future is that we don't respond to climate change in time. I see us suffocated by this kind of like giant blanket of noxious gases that we've created, and then hatred rising, division rising. I have a nephew who's 2, and who now, when he cries over small things, like he can't get a toy to work the way that he wants it to, or he's really tired so he has to go to bed. But when I think about what will happen if we don't act, I think about him and kids his age crying. And it's not about something that their parents or even their governments can fix. It's because we've really fucked up. And they're crying in despair because there's not enough food, because they have to relocate, because where they're living isn't safe anymore, or there's a lot of conflict that is born of scarcity. And then when I think about that, I realise that it's already happened. There are kids who have experienced this. In Bangladesh, there are always floods. In Syria, people had to relocate because of drought. And Mozambique has been hit by cyclones. So kids are already crying for our lack of action. But if we carry on with business as usual, it will get worse. And then we're going to be passing on an irreversible burden to people who have had no part in creating the crisis that will fall upon them. Step 3. Seeing with new eyes. So this is about using this pain and this sense of threat to look at the world differently and to inspire the creativity within us all, which our education system kind of beats out of us. So one way to engage with this is to imagine a world in which seemingly insurmountable problems have already been solved. So this is my imagination of the future. 50 years from now, people work way less because rent is lower and we don't have the same housing racket that exists today. And one day a week, one day of the traditional working week is given away to a nature day, because everyone, by law, has a right to go and spend a day in nature. People go and garden, people go and help out in allotments, they go and sit under a tree, they go to parks. And if they live in a city, then they get a nature pass, which means for their weekly nature day, they have free travel to go to the countryside or to go to the sea. Renewable energy is booming, so the UK's former industrial sites, the towns are alive once more with making wind turbines, with solar panels, with kind of being the pioneers of new sustainable technology. And this was helped because we had a Green Act come in through Parliament. And Parliament, by the way, is now representative, and it cannot be bought by corporate greed. It has to base its decisions on what is good for humanity and the earth. That's my seeing with new eyes. Step 4, going forth. So once you've gone through these steps, this is hopefully the step that leads you towards activism, to thinking about what is it that you can do, because everyone has different skills, limitations, situations, and it's about acknowledging that and just thinking, I can do something. So my going forth is thinking about perhaps how I can get my experience in education into making some kind of climate action and environmental activism in schools. It's getting involved with Extinction Rebellion, and their research has shown them from studying past activism that they only need 3.5% of the population to engage in mass civil disobedience to force systemic change. And they're uprisings next week. My other one is also just standing here talking to you. So activism can be anything. It can be big or small. It can just be a conversation. And yeah, we can do what we can. So if you are thinking about the climate, or you haven't thought about it much, and you want to kind of engage with maybe what you are really feeling about it, then I recommend going through this 4-stage process, which is coming from gratitude, honouring our pain for the world, seeing with new eyes, and going forth. It does feel empowering, it does feel galvanising, and I think it is important to acknowledge the fear that we might possess. I'm going to finish on sharing a poem with you that I wrote a few years ago when I was feeling a bit shit and I went for a run, and then I came back completely refreshed. And I read it and I thought actually it's quite relevant for this. So, when all is lost, go to nature. When all is lost, go to nature. Let the wind prop you up to stand tall. Feel its fingers converse with your hair and your face as you let go. Dismantle your walls. When all is lost, go to nature. Search for mountains that consume the sky, ragged peaks that protrude, biting into the blue, and climb up, force your burdens to fly. When all is lost, go to nature. See how roots anchor into the earth. Hear the trees telling tales of their annual loss, and again of their yearly rebirth. When all is lost, go to nature. Be an audience to parades of light. Watch the sun breaking bread with its cousin, the moon, as it curtsies in honour of night. When all is lost, go to nature. Breathe deep, be a part of the view. Understand you are part of a world that's in flux, but each step is a chance to renew. Thank you.